For decades, no country ever wanted an army as weak as Japan's. But suddenly, something has changed. To the point where every major military now wants to be like the Japanese army. Why are Japan's enemy nations suddenly afraid of it? This is the same country that, 80 years ago, suffered the most brutal atomic attack in human history. A nation that swore after World War II that it would never again pick up weapons. Its own constitution, Article 9, clearly states, "We will never maintain war potential." But today, look at Japan. This is not a normal ship. This is a clean strike weapon capable of literally slicing an enemy warship into 2 pieces, the way a knife cuts through butter. Its name, the electromagnetic railgun. A cannon that doesn't fire bullets. It fires pure electric energy. And mind you, this is a technology the United States itself hasn't been able to fully develop. But Japan has done it. What didn't happen in the past 70 years, Japan built in just a few months. Yes, Japan has actually created a real-life version of that Star Wars-style weapon. And this month, Japan's defense forces received some major upgrades. Their naval warship, JS Chokai, has been sent to the United States to be fitted with America's most advanced Tomahawk cruise missiles.
Working on a major shift in its defense posture with the decision to equip its missile destroyer, the JS Chokai. It will be equipped with the US-made Tomahawk cruise missiles.
And these missiles have such massive range. Japan can fire them from its own territory and hit targets all the way in Saudi Arabia. Which means one thing. Almost every country in Asia and the Middle East is now within Japan's strike radius. And according to reports, by 2027, Japan's arsenal will include 400 Tomahawk cruise missiles. On October 9th, Japan made another major announcement. They're preparing to arm their submarines and army units with long-range cruise missiles and advanced anti-ship systems. The kind of high-end technology that only top-tier militaries possess. They've also equipped the Japanese Air Force with AI-powered drone swarms. Machines designed to watch over Japan's seas, skies, and even its underwater territories, like an unblinking set of eyes. Recently, Japan has also launched a Joint Operations Command, a centralized war room designed to take control during any emergency wartime situation. So, naturally, a question arises. Why is Japan suddenly becoming so aggressive? Is Japan preparing for a major war? After all, Japan is known worldwide as a peaceful nation. So who exactly is threatening Japan now? And why has Japan quietly increased its military budget for the last 3 to 4 years without drawing global attention? In 2025 alone, Japan allocated its highest ever defense budget, $5 billion. And in 2026, they're preparing for the largest military allocation in their history, $60 billion. But there's something important we shouldn't forget. Japan was once an aggressive imperialist power during World War II, feared across Asia for its brutality. Is Japan heading back toward those old roots? In the 1940s, the Japanese army was considered one of the cruelest forces in world history. This is the same military responsible for the Nanjing massacre in China, where in just 6 weeks, women were assaulted, children were tortured, and hundreds of thousands of civilians were killed. You might also have heard about the Japanese Army's infamous Death March, where Australian prisoners of war were forced to walk for miles. If anyone collapsed from exhaustion, they were executed on the spot. And how can we talk about Japan's military history without mentioning the kamikaze warriors? Take a look at this photo. This is the USS Bunker Hill, an American aircraft carrier from World War II. And these are the kamikaze pilots. Young Japanese aviators whose only mission was to load their aircraft with explosives and crash directly into ships like the Bunker Hill in suicide attacks. At one point, Japan had an entire separate military force made up of these suicide bombers. Kamikaze pilots trained to die for the empire. In its imperial expansion, Japan committed mass atrocities across Asia, killing millions of Chinese, Indonesians, Koreans, Filipinos, British soldiers, and Australians, until the nuclear blasts of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In a single moment, the bomb wiped out over 100,000 Japanese civilians, making Japan the only country in the world to have first-hand experience of nuclear warfare. After this tragedy, it was as if Japan's military identity was rewritten forever. For example, look at this, just as fierce warriors. But Japan uses soft pastel colors, peaceful themes, and gentle messaging to advertise its military. And the reason goes back to Japan's constitution itself. After Japan surrendered, the United States helped draft a new constitution. To keep Japan's military in check, the U.S. inserted a special clause. Article 9. Under Article 9, Japan is legally prohibited from waging war or using military force. Japan is not allowed to maintain an offensive land, sea, or air force, nor can it possess offensive weapons. Instead, the United States took full responsibility for Japan's national security. So it's clear, the U.S. intentionally structured Japan to remain fully dependent on American protection. Japan and the United States signed what was known as the Mutual Security Agreement. Under this deal, the U.S. essentially told Japan, "You don't need to maintain your own army. Your security is our responsibility." And that's exactly why, even today, the United States has around 80 military bases and more than 50,000 American soldiers stationed inside Japan. Because of this agreement, Japan's national security rested in America's hands. And naturally, Japanese leaders began to think, if the U.S. already has one of the world's strongest militaries protecting us, why should we spend billions building our own? So instead of investing in defense, Japan invested heavily in industry, electronics, and advanced technology. And the result? The global boom of Japanese electronics, robotics, and the automotive industry that we see today. Japan does have its own self-defense forces, but the key word is self-defense. They are not allowed to launch offensive attacks. For example, when the U.S. went to war in Afghanistan, Japan wanted to support its ally. But because of constitutional restrictions, Japan's troops could only perform logistical tasks, transport, fuel supply, and basic support operations. Imagine that. Troops entering a war zone without weapons or ammunition, performing only supply and transport duties. Probably the first time in modern history something like this happened. But here's where the story takes a turn. A dramatic transformation led by Japan's former Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe. Abe came to power in 2012 with a massive public mandate. His main mission was to strengthen Japan's national security. He expanded Japan's self-defense forces from 50,000 troops to 250,000, a five-fold increase. He also partnered with the US, Australia, and India to form the Quad Alliance, aimed at countering China's growing dominance in the Indo-Pacific region. And perhaps, most importantly, the Abe government pushed through revolutionary changes to Article 9 of Japan's constitution, allowing Japan to mobilize its forces in cases of collective defense, not just when Japan itself is attacked. This means that if any of Japan's allies go to war, or if Japan faces an attack, the Japanese military is now allowed to strike back, not just for others, but for its own protection. Under Abe's leadership, Japan built an arsenal of 1,000 warplanes, 48 destroyers, and multiple submarines. They also began importing high-tech weapons from the US, including advanced fighter jets and missile interceptor systems. In fact, During Abe's term, Japan became the single largest buyer of U.S. military aircraft. And more surprisingly, Japan overtook major military powers like Britain and France to become the sixth largest defense spender in the world. Unfortunately, Abe resigned in 2020 and was assassinated in July 2022. But even today, his successors continue to follow his strategic vision. Reports now suggest that Japan is preparing to double its defense budget, which would push it from the sixth position to the third largest military spender on the planet. This leads to a very natural question. Why is Japan militarizing so quickly? What threat does it see that's forcing such drastic action? Well, the reason is the growing aggression of its neighbors. And don't forget, North Korea is a nuclear power with nuclear-armed missiles. Recently, North Korea launched a missile that flew directly over Japan and landed in the Pacific Ocean. Sirens went off across the nation. People were ordered to take shelter. Trains were halted. Cities were paralyzed. And mind you, this was the fourth time North Korea fired ballistic missiles over Japan without warning. As if North Korea wasn't enough, another player stepped into the picture: China. Just a few months ago, China fired ballistic missiles that landed inside Japan's exclusive economic zone, barely 100 kilometers from Japanese territory. It felt like a message, either a warning or a show of force, a way to remind Japan who dominates the region. Politically speaking, China's goal was pretty clear: to intimidate Japan and warn them not to get involved in the Taiwan issue. Here's the full story. China, as we all know, claims Taiwan as its own territory and insists it has the right to control it. But Japan strongly opposes any Chinese invasion of Taiwan. Why? First, look at the geography. Taiwan is extremely close to Japan. Tokyo's southernmost islands are barely 100 kilometers from Taiwan. So if any conflict breaks out there, Japan is guaranteed to feel the impact immediately. Second, Japan's most critical trade routes pass right through the waters near Taiwan. If China controls those seas, Japan's economic lifelines could be restricted overnight. And lastly, Japan and Taiwan share a very friendly relationship. So much so that 90% of Japanese citizens believe their country should support Taiwan if China ever invades. Some geopolitical experts even argue that Japan is quietly preparing for a future war with China. And if that wasn't enough, there's another thorn in their relationship: the long-standing territorial dispute over the Senkaku Islands. China, being China, claims the Senkaku Islands as its own territory, exactly the same way it tries to claim India's Arunachal Pradesh. This dispute between Japan and China has dragged on for more than 40 years, with absolutely no signs of resolution. But wait, Japan's list of adversaries doesn't end there. Because here comes Russia. Ever since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the entire world has been shaken. Countries suddenly realized that full-blown wars can still happen in the 21st century. Take Germany, for example. Germany's story mirrors Japan's in many ways. During World War II, Germany committed horrific crimes, just like Imperial Japan. And for decades, the following generations carried a massive burden of guilt. So, much like Japan, Germany adopted a pacifist, anti-military attitude. But after Russia attacked Ukraine, Germany shocked the world by dramatically increasing its military budget, allocating $13 billion almost overnight. Similarly, Japan is now fully alert, and former Prime Minister Fumio Kishida made that extremely clear in his public statements. Ukraine today might become East Asia tomorrow, and Japan knows this better than anyone. Russia is uncomfortably close, and the two nations still clash over the Kuril Islands, a chain rich with fishing grounds, oil, and natural gas. Russia regularly deploys missile defense systems there, flexing its military muscle right at Japan's doorstep. But the geopolitical storm doesn't end there. Even Japan's biggest ally, the United States, has begun questioning the very foundations of their security pact. When President Donald Trump publicly called the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty non-reciprocal, it shook Japan's confidence. His point was blunt: America protects Japan, But Japan doesn't protect America. Deals like that, he argued, simply don't make sense. This sentiment sparked a deep realization among Japanese leaders and citizens. If not now, then when? Japan is surrounded by three nuclear-armed aggressive neighbors, North Korea on one side, China on the other, and Russia looming in the north. All three are pushing, pressuring, and testing Japan's limits. So yes, Japan's decision to remilitarize isn't just logical, it's absolutely necessary for survival. Because despite being one of the world's biggest defense spenders, Japan has historically invested only 1% of its GDP into its military. And if there's one thing this era has proven, this is just the beginning. Japan's military awakening has only started, and the next chapter could reshape the entire future of East Asia.